Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is Grand Arena, the first match of the final week, Season 34. We begin the week in Kyber 3. We're working on getting back to Kyber 2. We've spent too much of this season here in this level. We had a very tough end to last week with a matchup against a guild. We'll do a quick recap of last week's matches, how my defense did with the Grand Arena history. Round 1, my opponent didn't attack, so that was a default win. Round 2, this one, I think it was fleets my opponent didn't engage with or just had limited participation. Wampa losing to Grievous. You really should have like a Relic 5 Wampa minimum. Maybe the BB-8 had an effect here. Wampa can win at Relic 3, it's just it depends on which level of Grievous you're going up against. This stuff is more straightforward. This is just filler here. I've got a lot of filler on defense. Then I did put the Omicron on First Order TIE Pilot. I have really weak First Order, but I did want to see if the Omicron was going to have an effect, even at a level where I have Gear 11 and Gear 12 First Order. And I didn't use Phasma Lead. I figured I'd just try and use my best First Order. And I'm happy to see Jedi Knight Luke drawed out. Maybe that did affect his play a little bit. Traya losing to Mon Mothma. Traya would have been fine if Katarn wasn't there. Katarn changes that matchup. It's becomes an RNG fest at that level, and I don't use that counter up against Kyle Katarn. At least with my Traya. Like, if you have relics on him, fine, but I've got a Gear 12 Sith trio. And then we see the start of fleets. I think this was the only fleet battle he did. And then failing to clear the Iden. And he failed to clear the CLS. There's two battles, or there were two territories he didn't clear. Now this was the matchup against my opponent. We were both going to 3-0. He was able to beat me. It was a 2v4 GL matchup, and congrats to Pork Bubbles. It was a tough match. I had to make some tough choices, but my defense did do a little bit of work. Grievous here losing to CLS. That's a little risky, but the other one, I'm seeing some of this stuff for the first time. The other one here is Wampa up against Mon Mothma. This is another one like the Grievous, where at Relic 3, it's just a little too risky. At Relic 5, probably would have been a safe counter. Wampa's really worth higher level relics, especially because he can solo GLs at that level, and even clean up other GLs. So Relic 7 should be a target, but Relic 5 is the minimum to eliminate a lot of RNG up against those other counters. And then no real problems with the rest of my board here. You can see he had a GL to say. This is just nonsense to test things out. Taking a look at the bracket, there's a couple players off screen I am going to want to highlight, but Darth Reaver is my opponent. We're going to do a look at everybody, not super in detail, but just quickly. So there's 4 players with 6 GLs. Then a couple with 4, and then 1 with 3 and 1 with 2. My opponent has 6 GLs. Relic units here, we are looking at anywhere from like 120 to 140 is about the range. My opponent has the most relic units of the bracket. When it comes to Gear 11 plus units, he's doing really well. I have the highest. Most players are in like a 120 to 190-ish range. So let me show you 2 players off screen very quickly. So there's Zill here. I think if he chooses to play, he is probably going to be in the final round. That's why I wanted to show him. The other one here is Akrov, another player with fewer GLs, but he could show up in the final round, and partly because of the mod quality on both of those players. But we're going to stay focused on Darth Reaver as we go through the rest of this. With the mods, my opponent is fine for the bracket, kind of right in the middle. I have the 3rd fastest of the top 25. Those 2 players, Akrov and Zill, they have the fastest top 25 mods. With the top 500, I have the fastest, but Akrov and Zill, they are not too far behind. Now with Datacrons, most of the players are not really engaging with them except for those 2. Let me just slide this over. except for Akrov and Zil here. They're the only other players who are engaging with Datacrons. Another reason why I expect to see them later if they choose to play. But the reason they're in Kyber 3 might be because they are not participating much in Grand Arena. So that is something that we will have to see. There are 2 players with Jabba unlocked. Only 4 players in the bracket have Lord Vader. Everyone has JMK and JML, except one of them somehow doesn't have, or probably just gotten, but does not have a Relic JMK. With Datacrons, I do want to say this, even if you don't have characters who can benefit from the current set of Datacrons, still work on them, because you get a percentage of the investment back, and that can go towards the next set of Datacrons, which you will want. And if you don't develop the current set, it means you're going to be slower developing the next set that you want. You want the expired resources to convert them into the next desirable set. So just throw those resources on and get to work. Now, let's move down to this Omicron section because it allows us to talk about a few characters. 2 players here without, or 1 player without Melgus, 1 does not have him at Relic. Everyone else has Melgus at various levels, mostly 5 to 7, 5 to 9. There are 4 of us with Relic Radduses, but not all of us have the Profundity. 3 players without Starkiller. 1 player without a usable Iden. Iden is usable at Gear 8. Like, don't delay because you're worried about the Kairos or something. 1 player, this player Gundam has a lot of undeveloped characters that he could be taking advantage of. Now, in terms of the SWGOH Omni, this is a little interesting. I'm the only one with the SWGOH Omicron. That's a fantastic Omicron that even at Gear 11 is usable. With the Traya Omi, this is the new hot one. Only 3 of us put that on. That is one I wouldn't waste time on. Just put that one on. You can see they've added Afra and Swallow. Only 3 players with Swallow. I haven't put any Omicrons on because at Gear 12 he's not going to do enough damage, and I've been using him really as a soft tank that has allowed me to counter a few things, which has been nice. Don't use him in this video though. With Mauls, 2 players without Maul, 1 player without Cat. It's this guy Gundam who doesn't have these characters, not really participating, but he does have Melgus, which I find is a little interesting. For just that was a character that I guess was motivating enough to play a game mode that he probably doesn't care too much about. And then the rest, we can move on here. Profundities, the only 3 of us with the Profundity, even though 4 of us have the relics, probably just ready for the next time the event shows up. We're gonna move over to the Hotbot here. Now with the Hotbot, small guild, interesting. Might be the guild leader, or maybe it's just the community of players he wants to play with. It looks like he's from the Czech Republic. With the mods, and I don't know if he's going to play or not. His participation was inconsistent. I think that's what's going on with a lot of these 6GL players who we're seeing in these levels. With relic distribution, kind of decently distributed. I just like to see if they're top heavy or not. His Darth Revan's the 300 speed character. We'll see that when we take a quick look at the speeds. I've got a few advantages, but you can just see that with the number of GLs he has, this will be a tough match. And he has Melgus and a lot of the other key characters all at Relic 7. So it is a dangerous roster. Now, taking a look at his roster in slightly more detail, with his speeds in particular. So he only has, I think it was 16 when I looked at this earlier. I played earlier. I wanted to get that Traya Omi right away. So it's his Darth Revan is at 300. His Mara Jade was like 298. So only 16. That's probably more average, but it's about in line what we see. So not terrifying. Nothing's really changed here from last week, but a quick glance at what I've set up. It's time that I change this. I think next season we're going to start changing things. Or not, next 5v5 we'll start changing things a little bit. The Sana's there just for testing purposes. Not even for testing purposes. I forgot to take her off for one, but she's unfamiliar and I don't know how to use her yet. This is the problem. This is a terrifying defense. JML, Sith Eternal Emperor. The Padme and Bam are fine, but we've got 2 GLs up top. We got 2 GLs down here: Lord Vader, SLKR, Qui-Gon, and Bad Batch. So it's 4 problematic GLs and 4 teams that we can deal with as long as we don't have to go too deep into the roster. We're starting with Night Sisters. I'm going to stop doing this up against the higher level Night Sister squads, but this is a fairly manageable one. Let's see, I've been a little less successful up against the stronger Qui-Gon teams lately, and I'm just going to go back to like a JKR counter, which I kind of forgot about this week. This one, though, doesn't have Anakin, so it's not really going to be a problem. And it's really what I'm wondering and questioning is, how long do we grind out stacking the health? Because without having to worry about Anakin, we don't need as much health or damage. So I do it for close to the same amount of time just to be safe, but not quite. Usually I do a full 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, and I do about like a, I don't know, minute 40. What I'm doing is I'm paying attention to when the hits on DACA turn into like a tickle, which is coming up. Right there. So you can see that hit from Barris, even though I think Barris is gear 12. But it wasn't that much, so I felt safe. I call the mass assist to get that stun, because the only thing I'm concerned about is the armor shred from Ki-Adi-Mundi. Just calling in basics to get more health, and I'm trying to get revives through taking people out like that from the Talzine leadership. And there we go. I might put on the Ventress Ami too. That might be one of the things I do to address that counter. But Omicrons, I think I'm going to be spending some soon, so I kind of don't want to touch what I have. So Bad Batch, my Gear 11 Bad Batch up against this kind of middle level Grievous team. The only thing here is we got Newt. He doesn't always change it, but he can. This is fairly safe, though. I don't even remember what that's called. It's not marked, but I want to call it marked because I can't remember what it's actually called. Like target or something. So I'm a little worried we're going to take out too many characters too quick before we're ready. That's where the RNG comes on in this counter. We swap with Omega for the heal. That is just key, and it's a protection up. Now, I should have targeted Newt. But I wanted him to fall to Echo's leadership. Or not leadership, unique. And now things fall apart. I think I got a little cocky that I was ahead of things. We had full health. And we're going to play it out and just hope that we can still get there. We take out Newt. And now the only real chance I have is if I get enough stacks of this thing to do enough damage. But with Gear 11, that's a lot of stacks we're going to need. And maybe if I would have autoed this, but I'm trying to be careful because I need to keep Wrecker alive. So I'm trying to play this in a way to make sure that I'm in control of who is getting healed and using the heals at the proper times. Because if I was like on auto, maybe we're attacking when I should be healing. Or maybe Tech is healing Omega instead of Wrecker. So we're just playing it out. Getting close. We're up to 8 stacks now. With a minute left, up to 10 stacks. But you can see the damage he's doing. It's still tough. And we're not really doing enough damage on Grievous. But we are keeping ourselves alive where I feel like I kind of have a chance. Now, I want to auto, but I want to first make sure that I get cooldowns into a position where I'm happy. Now we go for it. Because there's no time left. We're up to 14 stacks. And I mean, at gear 12, that wins. Maybe had I made some different choices, but I just think we didn't get the RNG this time. And we're going to clean it up here with Ackbar. This is, obviously if I had the Omicrons I wouldn't do this, but this is one of my favorite cleanup teams for Grievous, just because it's cheap, or it was. Now I'm going to have to find new cleanup squads. Or once I put Omicrons on. Now we are getting to the hard stuff. We got the GLs. So I got a plan here. There's a way forward, even though we only have 2 GLs. But it's of a variety where I have some potential counters. SLKR is JKR, JKL. Should have clicked on the Omi or the Datacron here, but I didn't think to do it. And this is the only non-GL counter we have to this squad, so we gotta go for it regardless. I almost made a mistake here. Usually I play with notes to remind myself, because this is a finicky counter where the turn order is very important. And I was without my notes when I played, so you want to go for the foresight, and I almost put on Master's Training, but I paused long enough to remember what to do. I may have been targeting the wrong tank. I think I want to go after Kylo first, but I don't remember exactly. Which is why I like to play with notes. Now, I should have probably taken Kylo out then, but I thought I could possibly... Because when you do this right, I usually have them gone by this point. I think I was just like choosing the wrong ones or doing it in the wrong order. So we get it down to Kylo, which is usually where it ends up with me anyway, because without relics on Bastila and with where I have relic levels at, it's usually how it ends up. Only like the poorly modded SLKRs do I one-shot. Now, Lord Vader here. The data, we'll look at the Datacron again in a second. Maybe it was speeds or something, but the way this goes, I was a little surprised how it went. We're just adding something. Oh yeah, I think we'd go with this one, because they evade a decent amount of times. Shock T is there. Against Lord Vader, I like to use Shock T a lot for the extra cleanse. But I know my Fennec isn't going to win because I only have a Gear 12 Zam, a Gear 12 Grief, a Gear 12 Mando. So what I have found over the course of this Lord Vader Datacron, the way I like to play it, kind of depend. Well, I go back and forth depending on what I think I need and what other teams are on the board. But in this scenario, I decided we're gonna take out everyone, get down to Lord Vader, and we'll clean up Lord Vader with Fennec. Sometimes I'll do Fennec first and clean up with JMK, but I've actually struggled or lost sometimes when I have JMK to try and clean up. So it's a little safer JMK going first and Fennec and cleaning it up. Now I'm getting a little scared at this point. Everyone under data block and ability block, and 3 characters still on the board. Get some assists. Eliminate Vader, down to Thrawn. Start adding armor shreds there. I looked at the turn meters and I was like, okay, I still have plenty of time to take out Thrawn. It's better to use Cat on Lord Vader and get to work. We start making progress. Get a second armor shred. Get a cleanse. Call in assists. Third armor shred. Like, this is going pretty well at this point. Which is why I started wondering, like, what is going on here? This is Relic 9 Lord Vader. But then it starts going how I was expecting. Now I needed to keep Kat alive because she was gonna die from dots if I didn't go with her. I didn't cleanse there because there wasn't that many dots. No one had days. Possibly could have brought in Kenobi and maybe that would have kept him alive. 5 stacks. I'm surprised this is going to a timeout and he didn't take me out. Like 6 stacks, like that. Yeah, so there's the datacron. I don't remember right now. I think that's. I'd have to double check what's the right one because since it's not my datacron, I don't remember anymore. So we go to Fennec Cleanup. There's the OCD of wanting to put my guys in certain slots. I have a cat meowing to be let inside. Gonna have to wait. Trying to go for the contract, and I should have waited. It's not going to affect things, but I should have waited. And boss gets us the contract. We go in. Mass assist. Get real close. Here I think is a mistake. I go for the execute. I think I probably should have left the ability block on. But it doesn't make a difference. Now for the SLKR, I'm going to do that one later because there's a couple things I could throw at it. Troopers is risky, especially at that relic level. Maul's the safer choice. So I want to bring in Wampa here. I thought about this a while before I did this. This datacron here with the protection up is nice, but you can see this version of Sith Eternal Emperor. This is not ideal, but I want to go for it anyway because I don't expect Maul to do all that well up against it. And you can see how much of an effect DACA is making. And how we don't really ever really get going. Maybe I should tweak the modding a little bit, but he gets stacking tenacity to the point where if it goes on long enough, it's fine. But you can see the effects of the Datacron. There's a lot of dots being inflicted. We're getting a ton of protection up, and we're not... There's no threat of us being eliminated, which is why I wanted to risk going this route instead of Maul, because I knew Maul we'd get stuck behind Zombie and we might mess up being able to take out Sith Eternal Emperor with how Watt is here. But we never really get anything going because of this stun. But what I'm hoping for is the stacking dots will do some damage. You can see that like DACA is close to falling a couple times here, and it'll get better. But we're also not doing our Wampa roar, so we're not getting improved stats. We're really relying on these dots here. And so I was hoping to unpause and see what abilities Wampa was looking at, but so there's one death from DACA. Sidious is gone. We got a minute and a half left. And we're just locked for so much of this. But you can see DACA there. A lot of dots. I was very frustrated at that cleanse. Probably Watt cleansing. 30 seconds left. I'm just hoping things get better. And right there, with like 1 or 2 seconds left, we finally get the dots to take out DACA, which really probably saves me. But now we're in a situation, okay, I gotta bring in Maul, so what's my SLKR counter gonna be? And that's what I'm thinking about at this time. And I'm thinking about things, and I'm like, okay, JML, we can do Starkiller JML, and if it doesn't go well, then we can clean up JML with my own JML. But I can't do a JML mirror and win. I don't think that's going to work. Because I don't have good Jedi to pair with my JML. So we go for Starkiller. It's just, I don't have relics on everybody, so it's something I'm a little concerned about. Marjade threw down the tenacity and then the stagger, and we're kind of in an okay position. Get some good stuns, and we're just really just hitting the basics to get to the Starkiller's ultimate. Basic, and there we go. We blow up most of the board, and just this is huge. And Yeah. So that really helps me out. That's... I think we... Yeah, we've only used one GL so far. And now we can use Maul for a cleanup here. It's pretty safely, because what Starkiller means is I can just JML and clean up SLKR. I'm looking for that protection up one again. Because at least it helps Canderous. I forget if it helps Django too or not. Well, we're through the protection. Zombie's not going to taunt anymore. And we can just work on Emperor. I mean, but maybe this would have worked fine to start instead of Wampa, because I really think the team was designed to mess up Wampa. It's the first time I had gone up against it, though. Now we have SLKR. We can clean up with JML. I'm keeping gas in case there's Ray on the back wall. From his Grand Arena history, nobody's gotten through this guy. A lot of people have beaten him because he hasn't played or barely played. But no one's full cleared this guy. So you can see I don't have a lot of great Jedi. I'm holding on to gas, using some nonsense here, which is why I didn't want to do JML versus JML, because I knew that wasn't going to win. But this will be fine. I'm just being indecisive. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to get turn meter onto Yoda so I can take more turns with him. Spread some buffs. We get to the ultimate. I'm just going to start calling in JML and do some damage. And there we go. 4 GLs down. And now we got this back wall. We got Iden, Mon Mothma, and that's Dash at the bottom there with an Omicron. Now what I want to do with this Iden here, this is something I wanted to test out, is I wanted to use SWGOH Omi up against it. Because I've done this in previous weeks, but they were all weaker Idens. So this one has some relics, so I wanted to see what kind of difference that makes. And you're gonna have to go to like week 1 to see footage for that, because in week 2, I went up against 2 players without Amis on Iden. It's strange. So we're just autoing this, but what I eventually kind of see is that we're not going to do enough damage to take out Shore Trooper. We get close, but it's just not going to happen, especially as they get these increasing stats that start stacking with Iden, where we're not going to get good opportunities, and Iden keeps dispelling all our stacks of resilient defense, which is impacting how much damage we're doing. Because he does more damage with the more stacks of defense that he has. So if I'm getting set back to 0 all the time from Iden, we're just not going to do that much. But we do get plenty of time to attack where Short Trooper isn't taunting. Now, I wish I would have done this maybe a little earlier and we could have done it, been a little bit more effective. Because I don't make the switch until later. I mean, it's probably coming up in a moment where I'm like, okay, we're not going to get, there's the switch. So after 2 minutes, I'm like, okay, we're not getting through Short Trooper. So I'm just waiting until the taunt to come down. And we make the switch to death. And we take him out with overpower. Now I need to do that more. But the problem is, with these increasing stats, and I forget if speed is one of them, maybe it is or not, but we don't get... Short Trooper doesn't leave himself exposed as much as he did in the first 2 minutes. Which is why I'm thinking... I'm wondering what tweaks. I'd have to remind myself what stats stack with Iden. But right now I'm just waiting for that taunt to come down. We'll start working on Snow Trooper, but we're get stuck behind that taunt again. And it's something where I'm just gonna... Next time you see me, I'm gonna... Or next Grand Arena, like I'm gonna have a Relic 5 Savage. We'll try that for a little bit, and then we'll probably have a Relic 7 Savage soon enough. I love this Omicron. I'm just a big Savage fan. So this test was okay. Mixed results, but it's something I wanted to test. Now the other thing we want to test is going to come up right now is the Traya Omi. But so you got to look at the teams that we have to choose from. Mon Mothma, Iden, that Dash team. We're not going to use Traya up against... I'm checking the speeds here, 247. We're not going to use Traya up against Iden because that's just a waste at this point. We already took a shot. So right now I'm trying to decide what is going to be the most interesting. We've got a Dash with the Ami at Relic 7. We've got a BAM team with some nonsense and a Padme team that is not a real Padme team. So I almost did this BAM team just low relics. And I decided this isn't going to be worthy enough or interesting enough. So I changed my mind. And I already put out a video on this that some of you may have already seen. But we go for Dash, because the Padme, like the relic levels are there, but it's not a Padme team that is composed of the ideal characters. So this Dash team, like, okay, we'll go with that. So, what am I moving around right now? Let me... Yeah. So we do Dash. Move my head out of the way so you can see. So Trooper and Marauder I look at. For a moment I considered Dooku. But I've got enough Separatists where I'm like, okay, maybe if things come down to it, I can consider Dooku. So if we've switched to normal speed, you can see AoEs going around already brought Nihilus below 90% health. And this is why I went with Nihilus lead. So that triggers Scion's hatred. He goes for a Dispel. Throw down Isolate, and I'm deliberately not choosing Nihilus for this because I want to just prove out that this Omicron works the way that I think it does, and it does. Because now I get a first turn Annihilate where I can eliminate dash, and now this squad has basically been neutralized. And we're already at hatred. Now I just want to see what other squads can I bring this up against. Because being able to take out somebody with a first turn like that, I mean, that opens up some interesting things where that means this can take out gas. It could probably take out Melgus, although I'd wonder how I'd have some of the cooldown manipulation there. Maybe it still doesn't work because it could be brought down to zero, but then increase cooldowns after that. So it might not work exactly up against Melgus. It's something I do want to test next time, or the first chance I get. But how much this squad can punch up is going to be interesting. And there's already some really interesting results that came out throughout the day. For, like, it can potentially take out GLs at the right relic levels. But now we are in a tough place because we got 4 squads left. And I really only have 2 good squads. We've got this Vader, Datacron, and Gas. And I deliberate for a moment. I almost use it here. And I'm like, no. I want to take out the other squads first because we know we can use Gas or Vader to take out any 2 of these. What I need to do is determine how I'm going to take out the other 2 squads. And so things are going to get tough for a moment. I also want to do more testing because that's what I like to do here, just kind of figure out what happens. So I want to test out the Hutt Cartel. This is really the most viable of the squads left that I think is worth testing. And I do think that maybe at Gear 12 this works. Or if I was more focused. I think I got a little distracted. Or had I... It's like I'm throwing things on Quill. Maybe if I would have saved something, but... Or... Because Bam was almost gone there. I think had I had one more thermal on him, he would have died. So we had to go. And I think that's where I messed it up. And so maybe Gear 11 would have been fine. I just played it wrong. But I wanted to spread thermals around, and I think that was just the wrong instinct. Now, up next, let's see how quickly I make decisions. I think I deliberate on one of these for a little bit. I wanted to try Nest, except my Nest isn't really modded for this. Because I'm very strict about what mods I turn into 6-dot mods, and my Nest has good mods, but I haven't turned all of them into 6-dot mods, so the tenacity is not really where it needs to be. I don't have Cure available. I'm like, whatever, let's give it a shot. Because it's not a counter I really use, and it's not a good Padme squad. Like, I mean, it does have Anakin and GK and Padme and GK are at Relic 8. But without Ahsoka, I was like, okay, we'll give it a shot. But with the healing immunity applied, and with no health left, I'm like, okay, we gotta go. Because right here, if I take a turn, I'm not gonna heal up anything. I'm just gonna be gone, so I forfeit. And I probably should be high relics. Let's just skip ahead, because I don't know how long I think about this, but yeah. But here's the situation. Like, I got to clear this. I only have 2 good teams left. And I have a bunch of weird things. Now, Mon Mothma is probably one of my better choices. I do have troopers, so I'm like, okay. His Katarn is probably slow enough, but it's still a little risky. I go in, I am faster, or fast enough. And so is my Moff Gideon. So that was safe and good, and I'm glad I didn't burn this squad attempting to see if they can clean up SLKR. Because they can, and I've done it in territory wars to clean up, but it's not always reliable. It depends on where the cooldowns and turn meter are left. And this battle I just decided wasn't worth the risk. So troopers, we had enough speed, we were fine. Really, this he has a number of squads that just aren't fast enough. I had the game paused while I was setting this team up, but this is Gear 11 and Gear 12 droids that I wanted to try. I used to do some sortie testing with BT1 and 000, but that never worked out. So I was like, okay, we're not doing that. Let's try these guys against BAM. Oh, it is a Relic 5 IG-88 or whatever. But this doesn't work at all. Something I like testing. I have had it work up against Dash, just not these good Dash squads really. We almost get IG-11 with that explosion, but we don't, and then I'm gonna forfeit at some point. This is why I like to test squads. I want to try and find new things and new counters for myself, but we don't find it this time. We found a lot of nice low gear counters during the tenure of this channel. Now, what did I ultimately decide? So we got Dash, Hondo, Vandor, and we're gonna throw in. Oh yeah, I do mission in Zelbar. There's scoundrels. Let's get some stats. I do have the Omi on Hondo, although I haven't. I'm still feeling this guy out. I've heard he's good with Maul, which I can try. So Dash goes, but I'm at a point where I'm not gonna get enough stacks. Like this, we're gonna lose Hondo. Because if you don't have, I think it's 5. If you don't have more than 5 stacks of capture, he's eliminated when you take somebody out. So that's why we lost Hondo. It would have been better had we been able to throw capture on somebody else. Well, we still get benefits when Hondo's gone. I forget what the stats are. And we do have a Relic 7 or whatever Dash, so this is going to be fine. We're going to throw a number of armor shreds on Nest. We're landing stun, so we do have a decent amount of control. And then we just got these big AoEs from Dash that will eventually get Dengar. And there we go. And now the next two teams we can clean up easily with Gas and Vader. That is why I wanted to figure out how to take out the other teams before we resorted to Vader and Gas. I don't want to choose the wrong combination of squads and get stuck. Yeah, because Gas and Vader are basically in any combination except for Vader up against Padme. Yeah. And down goes Iden. Next one will take a little bit longer, but it will be fine. Gas Pad. Just trying to find something to put on. Really looking at the secondary stats because we don't have ideal datacrons for this squad anymore. And we won't next set. Just targeting Kenobi. Because we're going to have all these assists we're forced into attacking Kenobi anyway, so this way at least we're not triggering protection up on everybody, and we can do some damage. Like you see, the AoEs are making a little progress, but now with these counters, everyone's got protection up. We're just playing it slow and steady. We used to have to do this so much when Squad Arena still mattered, and Gas was the new meta. Just targeting one of the people without protection up to do maximum damage. Yeah, we're doing fine. Just trying to take out somebody. Saving the turn meter for when Gas is on his knees. Big AoE. Take out R2. Almost take out Kenobi. And there we go. Really tough defense. And we fight our way through it. I'm really happy with this one. We did a lot of testing, so it doesn't look as clean, but getting through the tough portion of that defense with what we have, really happy about it. But this is tough. This combination of fleets, like I've got Exec, Maul, and a lot of weak capital ships and pilots to take up against a third option here, and the Razor Crest. It's a little slower, so I'm going to need to burn a fleet in order to get through. The Razor Crest here, because I'm going to need to go second. Problem is, we're not going to show the footage on the burner fleet because I didn't get to do it here because the Jawas eat this battle. So you can see I try to send this in, and then we get. What? I thought this died on me. Oh, that was a different one. Never mind. That was a different one. Yeah. So this happens. That's later in the match. We try to throw in another burner fleet later. So we throw in a burner fleet there so that I can throw in the Executor here. Is I could also have done like burner fleet and then throw in the Malevolence, but I don't have the TIE Fighter pilot. He's on defense. So the way this is set out, this is really the only way I think I'm going to take out the Executor. Now, with where the turn meter is on the Razor Crest, I'm a little... Yeah, that happens. So with where the turn meter was on the Razor Crest, I was concerned that he was going to dispel the marked, so I go after IG-2000. But now we can work on it. Things are a little different when you go second, but this is a safe. We're completely safe at this point. And this should eliminate him, and he's gone. Now, what's nice is if I find a way through his fleets, he can't beat me. He's got nothing left that can handle my fleet defense. And I don't think he even expects to play. Or play fleet at least. So I'm hoping for a full clear, but it's still technically, especially based on how many attempts I've taken, that if I don't full clear fleets, I might not be able to win it. Because he has the offense to cleanly take out my board. So if he were to one-shot all my squads and take out a fleet or two on fleet, he could beat a banner total if I can't full clear him. And now I try to decide for a while who I'm going to take out next. And I know he has a Relic 8 GK, so I'm like, okay, we'll take Malevolence, eliminate GK. That's going to be harder to clean up with the nonsense that I have left over. Just want to be a little careful with this because at Relic 8, this is not as safe as it is, especially because I've got a lot of lower gear piles. Let's see, Gear 12 Sunfac, we got Gear 12 Geos across the board, and it's a Relic 7 Grievous that we're working with. And you can see how it's a little bit different. Like, things so far are fine, and I'm glad that Sergeant came out. So do I do the AoE? And I decided to be a little safe. We're going to just bring out Spy. I was hoping I'd take out Anakin. But we take out Rex. Still in a position where we can take out Anakin. And there... And there we go. But this is why I brought out Spy. You can imagine a scenario in which I hadn't brought out Spy, we would have lost. Yeah, and that's how it is. When I'm being more conservative, I don't just bring out extra Vulture droids, I bring out an extra reinforcement. We get to the ultimate. And there are the two hard ones down. And now here's where I was saying, where we try to send in a burner and the Jawas eat one. So I'm going to throw in Mace, find a couple pilots. I'm looking for some weak ships. I've got the Sith Bomber. I've got the TIE Reaper. And I need one more ship to throw in, so I pick Phantom. And we send it in, and then we just get this blue wheel of death. You can see it's a little choppy, and we just... BlueStacks fails here. And so we're back with one failed battle and no benefit from it. So we gotta try again. It's like, okay, we will burn the Raven's Claw instead, because of the Raven's Claw is not really good enough. We send it in and it does okay. I just want to make a little bit of progress, make things easier for the next fleet. Not perfect, but we did enough damage. We go after Sunfac. He's down to the yellow. And we eliminate one ship, and that's a nice start. We lose Raven's Claw here. We bring out Wedge. We're just trying to just soften up these guys. I just want to take a little... I should have done a basic. And then next, I get on a phone call next, so I think I pause for a moment. I might need to jump ahead. What I wanted to do was Raddus here, actually, but this is me on a phone call, a little distracted. And I just stick with the First Order when it's not what I actually wanted to do. So while on the phone, I choose some pilots, but it turns out fine. Maybe it was the better way. Don't like that I lost the echelon so quickly, but with where the Hyena Bomber is at, because the Raven's Claw did way better than I thought it would, we eliminate the Hyena Bomber, and we're in a pretty great position now. I'm just trying to decide what I want to do, because we're going to feed turn meter. Yeah. Call the shuttle to assist. Heal up a little bit from the basic. Give a turn to the TIE Fighter. I don't want to take out the Vulture Droid, which is why I go for the basic. I want to leave it alone as much as I can. I dispel because he's got the charge and the... Is that really what I decided? Why did I decide that? Okay. It's fine. All the tanks are gone, and now I've got my final fleet to work on cleaning it up. I'm off the phone by this point and am properly paying attention. And this is, like, these are mostly Gear 11 pilots, like what you've seen from the last several fleets. There's, like, a couple exceptions, like Biston's, well, I guess the Raven's Claw fleet has a decent amount of relics. But it's the least functional fleet. The Finalizer and Raddus here, a lot of Gear 11, Gear 12 pilots. Like, just don't worry about it. Just max out the ship abilities, and that gives you a usable fleet, and we clear this board. And I'm not going to wait until he plays to finalize this. Like, he's not... Whether or not he attacks, he can't beat me. because I know he cannot clear my fleet. He doesn't have the profundity, and now he's going to be relying on Finalizer, Chimera, and Raddus. Like, I guess maybe, but I really think he's gonna struggle with it unless he knows things, and with where his mods are at, like I think it's much more likely that he's just does a couple battles, gets some rewards, and he's happy with it. But we will wrap it up there. Really happy with the Traya. I'm going to put in a separate video too where I wanted to highlight it. Next week we'll test some other things. We'll maybe add some relics or add Talon Omicron. But for the rest of this week, we are going to see how much we can punch up with it. Maybe we'll do some Traya lead, maybe we'll mess with Melgus, or maybe we just keep doing what we're doing and get a larger data set about it. But thank you for watching. Be safe out there, everyone, and be excellent to each other. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.